Vol 1ch, 66. Leon felt that he was just one step away from the final championship, but unfortunately, he fell in the quarterfinals due to his carelessness and underestimation of his opponent. As he closed the door, he smiled. However, this smile transferred to Risvitha's face just 1 minute later. What's worse, he even took the initiative to undress and climb onto Risvitha's bed. He even skipped the part where she had to undress him. He couldn't have handed himself over to the tigers' den more willingly. Back when he took his first class at the Dragon Slayer Academy, the teacher taught them never to let their guard down against dragons. This advice had saved Leon countless times on the battlefield, but he never expected to lose at this crucial moment. In fact, no matter what tricks Risvitha pulled off after the fact for his reckless behavior these past few days, Leon wouldn't have been surprised. But was tying him to the chair a bit too thrilling, and making him half naked. His dragon tattoo on his chest was shamelessly exposed to the air. Risvitha sat on the table, crossing her beautiful legs, with her toes gripping dragon wing slippers, swaying leisurely. In her hand, she held a little teaching whip from who knows where, playfully eyeing Leon. Leon's gaze shifted from the whip to her face, and finally, he couldn't help but ask, "You're not going to torture me for a confession, are you?" "Mother Dragon, I'll tell you straight up. I've had professional interrogation training. I won't tell you anything about the Empire. If you try to force me, my answer to you will be just 4 words. Go to hell." Risvitha jumped off the table and walked over, poking Leon's face with the little teaching whip. "SHH don't make a fuss." With that, Risvitha glanced up at the clock on the wall. 8 o'clock in the evening. After checking the time, she began to pace back and forth in front of Leon. It seemed like she was waiting for something, or some specific moment. Leon didn't bother to talk to her anymore. He didn't plan to beg Risvitha for mercy with any sweet words. He knew too well the temperament of this mother dragon. There was no escaping death tonight or any other night. Risvitha's vengeance was like a released arrow, impossible to stop midway. Around 9 o'clock, someone knocked on the door. Leon prayed that it was Muin who knocked. Maybe then he could temporarily evade tonight's fate. Risvitha went to the entrance to answer the door. "Your Majesty." Damn it. Just those 2 words shattered Leon's fantasy. It wasn't an angel knocking, it was the Grim Reaper. "This is the medicine you asked me to prepare." Anna handed a brown pill to Risvitha. Risvitha nodded. "Good, thank you." "You're welcome, Your Majesty." Anna bowed before turning to leave. Risvitha returned to the bedroom, walking up to Leon and gently pinching the chocolate-like pill between her index finger and thumb, slowly offering it to Leon's eyes. "Do you remember what this is, Leon?" She leaned in closer, her nose almost touching Leon's with the pill placed between them. Leon was familiar with this thing to the point of being overfamiliar. Dragon strength." Risvitha narrowed her eyes and smiled. "Yes, this is dragon strength, but it's different from the one you made before." As she spoke, Risvitha used her other hand's index finger to gently press against Leon's lips and applied a slight force, trying to open his mouth. The purity of this dragon strength is higher, and its effects are stronger. Even the Dragon King would struggle to digest its potency. "I see you've been working tirelessly day and night these past few days. You've been bathing me, taking care of my meals, and even accompanying me to sleep. I'm truly tilde touched. I'm sure you're exhausted too, right? So I've spent a fortune to buy this dragon strength, hopping to give you a boost. Come on, my dear husband, open your mouth. Let me feed you." Leon's head was almost tilting back to the courtyard of the temple, and his whole body was about to recline, dragging the chair legs forward. But Risvitha lifted her leg and pressed her knee against the seat between Leon's legs, pushing him back. "What, don't like it?" Risvitha asked, tilting her head. "I've quit. It's not good for the body." "That's heartbreaking to hear. I'm your wife, specially preparing this for you. How could it be bad for you? Come on, be good, eat it. Nothing will happen." Risvitha leaned close to Leon's ear, lowering her voice. You either cooperate, or I'll use other means to pry your mouth open. Mother Dragon, how ruthless you are. Seeing Leon's expression, Risvitha smiled satisfactorily. Good boy, open up. Leon reluctantly opened his mouth, and Risvitha pressed his lower lip, slowly feeding him the dragon's strength pill. Then, she lifted his chin, forcing him to swallow it. The strong medicinal scent rushed into his nose, causing Leon to cough violently. Oh, sorry for making you choke, Risvitha pretended to panic, fetching a glass of water and offering it to Leon's lips for him to drink. But as the liquid entered his throat, Leon frowned. This isn't water, what is this? Leon, you're so clever. This is an auxiliary drink to accelerate the absorption of the medicine. Leon felt utterly defeated. He always had a clear understanding of his position. And at this moment, his identity could be summarized in two simple words: a plaything. It was a role more humiliating than being a captive. Risvitha set the water aside, then moved her long legs and straddled Leon's lap. Her delicate fragrance enveloped him, and the softness of her chest lightly pressed against his collarbone. This delightful sensation should be a better accelerator than any damn auxiliary drink. She extended her arm, casually resting it on Leon's shoulder, lowered her head, and gazed into his eyes. Risvitha gently lifted Leon's chin, watching his trembling lips with a smile. Can you feel it, Leon? The dragon's strength gradually digesting and taking effect in your stomach. In 1 minute, you'll feel intensely restless, eager to find something to vent your frustration. 2 minutes later, this restlessness reaches its peak, followed by an insatiable desire. By the 3rd minute, the medicine will be fully absorbed by you. You'll start to speak nonsense, completely becoming my slave. She lightly teased Leon's chin, observing his lips trembling slightly, and asked with a smile, But I can help you, Leon. I can let you release your pain. Only the body of a dragon king can withstand the flood-like desire, as long as you beg me. Leon bit his lower lip, replying in a slow, deliberate manner. You're dreaming. Why so hostile? I'm just helping you. It's just a simple request. You won't have to endure the impending torture. Isn't that better? I will never beg you, Mother Dragon. This is the dignity of a dragon slayer. Well then, enjoy our old friend, Dragon Strength. With that said, Risvitha stood up and brought over a clock, purposely making Leon stare at the time displayed on it. Now, the 1st minute is almost up. Get restless, my dear husband. Leon clenched his fists tightly, his breathing unconsciously accelerating due to nervousness and anxiety. Beads of sweat formed on his forehead and nose. His eyes were fixed on the clock. Tick-tock, tick-tock, tick-tock. With each movement of the second hand, it felt as if the claws of desire were inching closer to him. 1 minute passed. Leon's heart rate reached its peak, and his stomach burned with heat. 2 minutes passed. His nerves were stretched to the limit, desperately suppressing various uncomfortable physiological reactions. 3 minutes. Leon, facing death bravely, closed his eyes tightly and shouted, Risvitha, I'm not afraid of you. I am the champion of abstinence. Ha, you big dummy. Risvitha hugged the clock, squatting on the ground and bursting into laughter. She buried her head in her arms, shaking with laughter. Leon was dumbfounded by her laughter. Wait a minute. Wasn't he supposed to become a slave to desire? Why was he only sweating and experiencing no other symptoms? Mother Dragon, you tricked me. Risvitha laughed even more recklessly, almost rolling on the ground. She truly lived up to her reputation, manipulating everything between her fingers. Risvitha managed to control her expression and tried to restrain her smile. She squatted on the ground, propping her chin with one hand, looking like an innocent little girl. Leon, are you really not going to beg me? Tusk, I've said it. Even if I, Leon Casmode, were to die, I wouldn't beg you, not even once. Risvitha raised an eyebrow. Really? Of course it's true. How can we dragon slayers bow our heads like dragon kings? It's impossible forever. What if you really can't control yourself and end up begging me and coaxing me? What then? HMPH, if that happens, you can make me do anything and I won't complain. But I'm telling you, that's absolutely, positively, definitely not going to happen. Risvitha nodded satisfactorily. That's what I've been waiting for. Now let me show you this. With that, Risvitha stood up, took slow steps toward Leon, and then slightly bent down, resting her chin on his shoulder. She extended her hand in front of Leon, palm facing up, gathering magical energy. The energy coalesced into a sphere, and when the light dissipated, a crystal ball appeared in her hand. What is this? A memory stone, a kind of magical prop. Leon swallowed nervously, feeling the warm breath on the back of his neck. What does it do? Well, before I demonstrate its function, I need to make some preparations. You wait here obediently, don't run around. Leon glanced at the ropes tied around him. Run? Where could he possibly run? Risvitha, you're really stretching it to call the Great Mother Dragon a little baby, finding words when there are none. He watched as Risvitha rummaged around the room, eventually coming to the wardrobe and flipping through the clothes one by one. Finally, underneath a pile of seldom-worn clothes, she found a pair of black stockings. Why do I remember that I've never worn these stockings before? How did they get opened? Risvitha muttered to herself, but didn't pay much attention. After all, a queen's wardrobe was too large to remember every piece of clothing she had worn or not. She pulled the stockings in her hand, testing their elasticity and transparency. Perfect for blindfold. Why do you need to blindfold me? And what's that in your hand? My stockings, well, more precisely, black stockings, Risvitha said. Don't worry, they're unworn, very clean. Leon, no, do you think I don't know whether you've worn them or not? Aren't these the ones you wore when you dressed up as a bunny girl the other night? Don't, Risvitha. Using this thing to blindfold me is no different from killing me, Leon swallowed nervously. In Risvitha's eyes, these stockings were unworn, but in his eyes they had already been on her body. I don't have any weird hobbies. Get rid of this thing already. Tusk, why so shy? It's just stockings. Here we go, Tilda. Stop it. But no matter how Leon shook his head, Risvitha directly used her tail to hold him down, rendering him unable to move. She then wound one of the stockings around his eyes, one loop at a time. For a well-trained dragon slayer, closing off one sense would make the other senses extremely sharp. Sometimes Leon regretted how well he had learned back then. Why? Risvitha's fingertips brushed against his face, her breath spraying behind his ear, causing a tickling sensation that made him restless. All right, all set. Then memory stone activate. Leon couldn't see how the so-called memory stone was activated. But the next moment, a voice full of pleading and sincerity echoed gently. Please, I really want to kiss you. Leon's heart tightened. The opening line of dialogue blew him away, leaving him feeling numb. His body was practically paralyzed halfway through, and the following words only made Leon feel like ants were crawling all over him. Risvitha, I want to kiss you, please. Give it to me. Oh, you might not have heard it clearly, so let's listen again. As she spoke, Risvitha replayed the sentence. Please, give it to me. Tilda, so wonderful, Tilda, let's hear it again, Tilda. Please, Risvitha. After several repeated plays, Risvitha could clearly feel someone trembling. Whether from fear or anger, she wasn't sure. Seeing that the effect was almost there, Risvitha removed the stockings from his eyes. How was it? Does that voice sound familiar? Risvitha asked with a smile. Leon pursed his lips. Even though both of them knew the truth, he was still trying to play tough. It's just that the voice sounds like mine. It doesn't prove that the person saying those words is me. Oh, all right, let's continue. With that, Risvitha activated the memory stone, and the stone projected a beam of light onto a flat surface, forming a flat image. In the image, the scene from the night of blood seduction immediately began to play. Leon was leaning back on the sofa, his face filled with enjoyment and pleading. Risvitha, please, I want to kiss you, give it to me. Risvitha sighed. Well, it might just be a coincidence. Maybe this person just happens to sound and look like you. It definitely isn't you, right? Leon was completely stunned. Leon now realized that mere physical revenge was no longer satisfying Risvitha. This dragoness was now venturing into the realm of heart's revenge. He couldn't keep up with Risvitha's new tactics, but he wasn't completely powerless either. If he could just seize the opportunity to get hold of the camera he used to secretly photograph her in the bunny costume, Leon might be able to turn the tables. Seeing Leon silent, Risvitha put away the memory stone and pretended to be puzzled. What were you saying just now? She leaned closer to Leon's face, extending her tongue to lightly tease his burning earlobe. To be a slave, to have no complaints, and then to be at your mercy, Leon replied. Risvitha chuckled softly. Well then, don't mind if I do. Standing in front of Leon, Risvitha lifted her jade-like legs and placed one foot in the gap between his thighs. She raised the small whip in her hand and narrowed her eyes with a smile. First, let's review the lesson we just had. If you don't remember, your teacher can explain it to you again. Vol 1ch, 67. Given the vengeful nature of these two, this cycle of retaliation will never cease. You hit me, I hit you. When will this cycle of grievances end? As the saying goes, to stop one war, another must be waged. At this moment, Noya, the future inheritor of the Silver Dragon Temple, studying far away at the St. High's Academy, perhaps due to a telepathic connection with her parents, or perhaps for other reasons. In any case, she managed to stop this human-dragon conflict in a rather unexpected manner. As Risvitha's clothes were halfway off, the balcony echoed with the cry of a messenger dragon. Helplessly, Risvitha had to put her clothes back on first, sparing Leon for the time being. She went to the balcony, thinking it was a letter from her sister Isla, but upon opening it, her brow furrowed. Seeing Risvitha taking so long to return, Leon got out of bed and went to the balcony. What happened? Leon stood beside her. Risvitha said nothing, but handed the letter in her hand to Leon. Taking the letter, Leon was immediately surprised. Noya got into a fight with someone. The fact that the Academy sent a messenger dragon this late suggests that this matter may be serious. Risvitha's tone was full of concern. Noya, she won't be in any danger, will she? Noya was much younger than other dragons her age, and for such a small child to go out to study alone, hearing news of her getting into a fight with someone, how could Risvitha not worry? Leon looked at the notification letter in his hand, which contained very brief content. Mr. Leon, Ms. Risvitha, Noya recently got into a physical altercation with other students at the Academy. Please come to the Academy tomorrow morning to discuss this matter. Leon was unaware of the situation in the dragon community's news sphere. However, in the Empire, the shorter the news, the bigger the issue. Moreover, the fact that the Academy had sent a messenger dragon here in the dead of night, demanding their presence early the next morning, indicated that this matter might indeed be significant. Leon pursed his lips, his expression serious. He opened his mouth, wanting to voice his concerns, but when he saw Risvitha's anxious and worried expression, he swallowed his words. While Leon was certainly worried about Noya, if he expressed these concerns now, it would only add to Risvitha's anxiety. Leon couldn't afford to fan the flames. When it came to their daughter, he and Risvitha tacitly put aside their past grievances. Leon put away the notification letter and gently pulled Risvitha's arm. Let's go back and rest for now. Risvitha didn't say anything, silently following Leon into the room. She sat on the edge of the bed, fiddling with her nails, not uttering a word. Leon tactfully refrained from starting a conversation with her, instead quietly tidying up the room that they had left in disarray. He put the chair back in place, returned the ropes to the storage room, and neatly folded the black stockings before placing them in the wardrobe. Then, he prepared a cup of hot water and placed it on Risvitha's bedside. Finally, he half knelt in front of Risvitha, lifting her chin to look at her. Rest early. We'll leave for the academy early tomorrow morning. I'll sleep in the living room, and if you can't sleep, come wake me up." Leon glanced at the back of Risvitha's hand, hesitating for a moment. He remembered the last time they interviewed, Risvitha was very nervous, and he wanted to pat her hand to comfort her. But in the end, he only patted her shoulder. And this time, after hesitating for a moment, Leon reached out and gently covered Risvitha's slightly cool hand. "Well, that's it then," he said, standing up and leaving the bedroom for the living room. Risvitha lifted her gaze to his retreating figure, feeling the warmth of his palms still lingering on the back of her hand. She opened her mouth, wanting to call him back, but the words stuck in her throat. Risvitha lowered her eyelids, catching sight of the family portrait on the bedside table. She reached out and picked it up, lightly brushing her fingertips over Noya's face. "Please don't get hurt, Noya." Meanwhile, Leon lay on the living room sofa, silently staring at the ceiling, contemplating whether it would be better to tear apart the person who bullied Noya with his bare hands or to use a knife. The next morning, the couple rushed into the principal's office. Vice Principal Wilson was sitting behind his desk, discussing something with another teacher. Upon seeing Risvitha and Leon, he immediately turned to the teacher and said, "Go call Noya and the others." "Yes, Principal." The couple hurried to the desk, and Risvitha asked, "Principal, what's going on with Noya? Why did she get into a fight with someone?" "Please calm down, Miss Risvitha," the principal said, pushing up his glasses on his nose. "The cause of the incident isn't very surprising. It's just the conflicts between viviparous and oviparous dragons." The principal was actually glossing over the term conflicts. Perhaps discrimination would be more accurate. Oviparous dragons inherit their powers directly from the mother and require some time to grow. Although there is no difference in abilities between the two breeding methods when they reach adulthood, there are still some differences in abilities during their juvenile stage. Apart from having advantages in physical fitness and innate talents, oviparous dragons also have a distinct feature. They are born with dragon horns, whereas viviparous dragons only develop them in adulthood. However, these differences in appearance are not enough to incite conflicts to the extent of discrimination. Another significant symbol of dragon identity and status is their tails. During a presentation where Leon, Risvitha, and Noya were representing a model family, Leon did not display his tail. While most adult dragons wouldn't care much about this, it could be seen as a sign of superiority for children. Therefore, Noya's conflict with others might have been based on these factors. Wilson nodded. Yes, those 3 children are indeed rebellious. They often bully the viviparous dragons in the class. Unfortunately, Noya caught their attention. Risvitha squinted slightly. 3. Principal, are you saying that 3 dragons ganged up to bully my daughter? Leon, displeased, stepped forward and said softly, "Principal, this is indeed unacceptable. Find the parents of those 3 dragons and I'll talk to them." You know, reasoning with dragons, as a dragon slayer, is quite straightforward. Wilson, feeling helpless, rubbed his forehead. Judging by the couple's reaction, it seemed they had already assumed Noya was bullied. But in reality, "The principal, Noya and the others are here," the teacher who had just spoken said from the doorway. "Ah, good, let them in," the principal sighed in relief. Leon and Risvitha turned their heads towards the office door. Under the guidance of the teacher, Noya stepped into the room. The couple hurriedly approached her, squatting on either side to check if she had any injuries. Noya was puzzled. "Mom, what are you doing? Did you get hurt? Are you feeling unwell anywhere? Do you need to go home and rest?" The series of questions, momentarily, overwhelmed the young dragon's brain. Risvitha examined her more carefully, inspecting each finger. But Leon's quick check revealed that Noya seemed perfectly fine. With a sense of confusion, he glanced towards the door again. At that moment, 3 more young dragons entered the room. In stark contrast to Noya's composure, all 3 of them had bruised faces. The one in the middle even had bandages wrapped around his arm. Once inside, the 3 stuck close together. When they saw Noya glance back at them, they scurried to the corner of the room. Observing this, Leon's thoughts stirred slightly, and he gently restrained Risvitha's hand. "Huh, what's up?" she asked. "The information from the academy seems to be wrong. This doesn't seem like a fight. It looks more like Noya was the one who attacked them," Leon whispered. Attacked," Risvitha echoed, following Leon's gaze. Naturally, she also noticed the 3 sorry-looking young dragons. Truly, each one looking worse than the other. They had short little dragon horns on their heads, proving that they were indeed oviparous hatchlings. The 2 on the sides were short in stature, with large heads and thick necks, while the one in the middle looked more like a normal child, with a faint flame symbol between his eyebrows. The Dwarf Dragon Clan and Flame Burn clans. Risvitha immediately identified their races. Leon didn't quite understand. Dwarf dragons, isn't that the toad dragons? Huh. Wait. Leon paused, glanced around, then leaned in close to Risvitha's ear and whispered, "We used to call these ugly little dragons toad dragons when we were fighting. They're not only stupid as hell, but also extremely cowardly, used to train beginners who have just graduated from the Dragon Slayer Academy." Leon wanted to add that these dragons not only were dumb as rocks, but also incredibly timid, perfect targets for new graduates to practice on. That's quite fitting. Risvitha picked up Noya, stood up, and sat next to Leon on the nearby sofa. "Just wait a moment, their parents will be here soon." Lal, the flame-burned dragon sitting in the middle, was probably the leader of the trio. Classic lineup of 1 leader and 2 followers. About 15 minutes later, the office door was pushed open again. This time, 3 male dragons entered. "Lal, heard you beat up some other kids. What's the big deal? Can't you handle it yourself? Whatever, just tell your dad how you messed up other people's kids, and he'll compensate them accordingly." The speaker was Lal's father. He seemed quite pleased with himself, as if his son beating up others was something to be proud of. However, when he saw his precious son beaten black and blue, he was completely stunned and hurried over to check on him. "Son, how did you end up like this?" The other 2 dragons also approached to comfort their own sons. Risvitha leaned slightly to the side and whispered, "That guy is from the Flame Burn Dragon King, Constantine's clan. The Flame Burn dragons are all arrogant and difficult to deal with." Leon whispered back, "I've killed enough Flame Burn dragons to circle the academy twice." Noya, puzzled, turned her head and looked at Leon. Leon blinked and chuckled as he explained, "Ahaha, you see, your old man was quite the warrior in his younger days, fought all over, and contributed a lot to our Silver Dragon clan. Isn't it your kid who beat up my son like this? Come on, if you don't apologize to my son today, don't even think about leaving this room." Lal's father pointed at Leon. "Quiet," Vice Principal Wilson banged the table. "Let me summarize the situation." Lal and his companions knocked over Noya's tray last night in the cafeteria. Whether it was intentional or accidental, both sides have conflicting claims, and we'll set that aside for now. Later, on the way back to the dorms, Lal and his friends cornered Noya in the dormitory backyard, and a physical confrontation ensued. And now we're here. Do you have anything to add? Noya raised her hand. I have something to add. Go ahead, Noya. They cornered me in the backyard, and the short-footed dragon on the left rushed at me first. I kicked him in the stomach, and he couldn't get up. Then it was the short-footed dragon on the right. When he rushed at me, I grabbed his arm, performed a shoulder throw, and slammed him to the ground, then stomped on his shoulder. Finally, it was the flame-burned dragon in the middle. I grabbed his tail, stomped on it, and when he tried to punch me, I accidentally broke his arm. Principal, I'm done with my addition. Principal Wilson rubbed his temples in silence. Well, Lal, regarding what Noya said about accidentally breaking your arm, do you have anything to say? Absolutely not. Everything Noya said is true, Lal quickly replied. You little scoundrel, how dare you turn against us? She's the one who beat you up. Why are you siding with her? Lau's father was evidently a tough customer. He looked at Noya. "It's clear what happened here. This little girl beat up my son and she did it brutally. She's in the wrong. I demand an apology from her." "Not only an apology, but both of these individuals should also bow and apologize to my son together. And they must compensate him according to the damages. Not a penny less." "Principal, my demands are reasonable, right?" Principal Wilson intervened hastily. "All right, calm down, both of you. Suddenly, Leon spoke up. "I think, Noya, you indeed made a mistake." All eyes immediately turned to the male dragon, who was reluctant to reveal his tale. "Leon, what are you talking about?" Leon gently placed his hand on Noya's head. As he looked into her puzzled eyes, he explained slowly. "Firstly, after you knocked down the first toad dragon, the short-footed dragon, you should have delivered another kick to ensure he couldn't sneak up on you. Secondly, after the shoulder throw, you shouldn't have stomped on his stomach. It's too cruel. Let me teach you. Stomp on the thigh instead. It quickly immobilizes the opponent. Lastly, breaking the flame-burned dragon's arm wouldn't necessarily instill fear in him. Their biggest weakness actually lies in their knees because they lack strong jumping abilities. Once their knees are damaged, they're practically sitting ducks on the battlefield." "Got it." Noya blinked her beautiful eyes, looking somewhat surprised at this man. His analysis was logical, and his advice was reliable. He didn't seem like just a stay-at-home dad. The inherent desire for strength among dragons made Noya's admiration for Leon skyrocket. Noya smiled rarely and nodded earnestly. "Got it. I'll keep that in mind next time." Unexpectedly, in such a situation, Leon not only fully supported her, but also provided on-the-spot coaching. Listening to his advice, the two short-footed dragons opposite them trembled with fear. Noya even felt eager to try out Leon's techniques. Vol 1ch, 68. I believe everyone encounters such individuals in their daily lives, inevitably. When they can't comprehend reason, they rely on their loud voices, throwing tantrums, crying, making a scene, even resorting to extremes like hanging themselves, pulling every which way, completely lacking in manners. Coincidentally, Lau's father at this moment is earnestly performing this type of person according to stereotypes, bringing about a strong sense of discomfort to everyone present. Leon even suspects whether he's a dragon or a rabid dog. Although his recent analysis deeply pleased Noya and Risvitha, how could Lau's father on the opposite side sit still after hearing it? Hey, Principal, did you hear that? This guy actually publicly taught his daughter how to bully my child. Isn't this a slap in the face? I think, for such a violent student, an apology is no longer sufficient to solve the problem. She should be expelled, never allowed to enroll again. Principal Wilson raised his hand to stop Lau's father's incessant chatter. Quiet down, whether to expel or not is for the school to decide. Moreover, many students have reported that Lau often bullies some embryonic dragons. Last night in the cafeteria, many students also said that Lau was deliberately provoking Noya. Upon hearing this, Lau's father became even more indignant, pounding the table and pointing at Wilson's nose, angrily saying, "Hey, you old stubborn fool, are you confused? Clearly, it was their child who hit my son. You still haven't imposed any punishment, and you're saying my son deliberately provoked them. My son never provokes others. He's just always like that, used to it. Who would have thought those useless little dragons would think my son is bullying them? Bunch of wimps. And even if my son did bully someone, there must be a reason. Principal, is your school so corrupt and biased?" Wilson frowned, replying sternly, "Watch your words, Lau's father. If you continue to slander the school will take even more serious actions against Lau." In response to Principal Wilson's warning, Lau's father chose to temporarily back down, but he didn't quiet down. Instead, he directed his anger towards several teachers nearby. "And you teachers, why didn't you intervene in the students' conflicts in a timely manner?" he demanded. "My son's arm is now broken. How are you going to compensate for that? He's usually such a well-behaved child, and now he's being bullied like this. Can you teachers just stand by and watch? He continued, his voice growing louder. The teachers remained expressionless. These veteran teachers could discern a student's behavior just from one day of classes. They knew Lau's usual behavior very well. It could only be said that Noya had been too lenient. But the teacher's silence seemed like guilt to Lau's father, leaving him unsure how to refute them. So he intensified his accusations, seeming determined to turn the principal's office into a chaotic mess. After blaming the teachers, he then turned his gaze towards the culprits of the brawl. Lau's father approached Leon's family, muttering angrily. "And you, I remember you were once a model family, right?" "Nonsense. Now your daughter has beaten up my son. Do you know how serious the consequences are?" "My son has never been bullied since he was young. Why was he beaten up just half a month after starting school?" "He's the one who will inherit my title in the future. Do you know I'm the Duke of the Flame-Burn Dragon clan? Our leader is Constantine. And you're just a coward who doesn't even dare to show your tail. Just now, you shamelessly taught others how to attack us. Come on, I'm standing right here. Dare you hit me?" "And you." He looked towards Risvitha, raising his arm as if to continue berating her. Smack. Before this idiot, who was ranting like a fishwife, could continue scolding Risvitha, Leon stood up and grabbed his wrist. Before his index finger could even point, a tremendous pressure on his wrist pressed down on his bones and nerves, forcing his fingers to bend, unable to straighten. He even tried to resist Leon secretly. But he found out this guy's strength was astonishing. Risvitha hugged Noya tightly as she sat on the sofa. Actually, if Leon hadn't stood up and said something just now, she couldn't help but retort to that guy. Unexpectedly, Leon seized the opportunity first. Moreover, Risvitha noticed a small detail, whether it was intentional or unintentional on Leon's part. That is, he seemed to be a bit protective. "What are you barking about? It's one thing to point and scold at me, but dare you point at my wife and child?" Leon said coldly, "I almost thought there was a dog sneaking into St. High's Academy." Lau's father glared fiercely at Leon, but his momentum had weakened considerably. Leon's height of nearly 6 feet exuded a strong sense of oppression as he stood up. Moreover, due to the fact that he's a dragon slayer, there's an inherent bloodline suppression when he sees a dragon. Lau's father felt a bit intimidated, but he still maintained a tough facade. "What's the matter? You want to start a fight? This is the principal's office. Try hitting me here." "Why do you always talk about fighting and killing? It's like you and your son are really good at it," Leon sneered. "Nonsense. Your daughter beat up my son, that's a fact. Are you trying to stop me from saying it?" Lau's father retorted. Leon chuckled coldly. "My daughter is 1 year and 2 months old this year. How old is your son with a broken arm?" Lau's father was taken aback, stuttering. You don't need to worry about how old my son is anyway." "I'm 7 years and 11 months old," Lau, who was sitting beside him, murmured softly. "Louder, can't hear you." Noya looked towards Lau, who was shrinking on the opposite sofa. Lau immediately straightened up and raised his voice, confidently declaring, 7 years and 11 months. The little guy almost stood up from the sofa to salute Noya. "He says he's 7 years and 11 months old," Noya said. Leon shrugged. "Oh, rounding it off, he's 8. So an 8-year-old dragon, teamed up with 2 roughly the same age toad dragons, couldn't even beat my daughter who's just over a year old. Tusk, 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 this is such a shameful thing. If it were me, I'd find a place to hide and keep this matter to myself. Never would I flaunt my son got beaten by a 1-year-old like you do." Dragons inherently possess a mentality of admiring strength. Might makes right is the creed instilled in them since childhood. And now, after Lau's father's boastful self-praise, he found his titles, his demands for apologies, all crumbling in the face of Leon's simple words. Leaving aside Lau's habitual mischief, and the fact that he provoked Noya last night and got handled by her, even the mere fact of 3 cocoon-born 8-year-old dragons being easily beaten by a 1-year-old embryo-born dragon is enough to make people feel like it's nonsense when said out loud. After Leon's friendly reminder, Lau's father also realized this. His gaze was panicked. He licked his dry lips and continued to insist stubbornly. Maybe my son wasn't feeling well at the time, or maybe he hadn't eaten enough. Your daughter just happened to win. Leon raised an eyebrow. Is that so? Then let them be in the same group for the next practical combat training class. Noya, do you have any objections? Noya shook her head. I don't have any objections. I have objections. Lau's father raised his other hand tremblingly, the one that hadn't been broken. Seeing his son undermine himself like this, Lau's father was truly at a loss for words, but his anger wasn't suppressed. He just stood there, glaring at Leon, unable to say a word. But Leon wasn't going to let him off the hook. You just said I taught my daughter how to defeat your son in public. Sorry, I wasn't teaching her how to defeat, because she already broke your precious son's arm. I was teaching her how to defeat more effectively and easily, okay? You. Tusk, your son bullying others is a habit, just like my daughter playing around with me is a habit. Who knew your son was so weak that he broke his arm just by playing around? It was like hitting him in the face. Silence broke through his defenses once again. Leon used to only know how to kill dragons, not how to deal with people's hearts. But after spending a long time with Risvitha, he gradually learned the art of not only killing dragons, but also understanding people's intentions. You don't need to accuse the Academy or Principal Wilson of favoritism. Regardless of the outcome of the Academy's decision, I believe it will be fair. Am I right, Principal? Leon looked towards Wilson. Wilson nodded, taking the opportunity to both praise and tease. Indeed, a husband from a model family has a different perspective. Leon modestly smiled, shook off Lau's father's wrist, and didn't bother saying more to him. Rubbing his sore wrist, Lau's father glared at Leon but didn't dare say anything else. His previously arrogant demeanor had completely vanished. Well, since the two of you don't have anything else to discuss, let's get back on track. Mr. Leon, you fully respect the Academy's handling process and results, right? Wilson glanced at Leon. Leon nodded. Yes, of course. Good. Wilson reluctantly turned to Lau's group. And Lau's father, what about you? Although Lau's father didn't gain much advantage in the previous, friendly negotiation, he didn't dare to cause any more trouble. Because that guy named Leon, besides being eloquent, emanated a faint aura that made Lau's father feel a bit uneasy. Anyway, it's better to temporarily avoid confrontation and discuss later. I also respect the Academy's decision, Lau's father said. Principal Wilson glanced at Lau's father, snorted disdainfully, and continued. Well, according to the Academy's regulations, and considering Lau himself has repeatedly emphasized that Noya didn't intentionally break his arm, and they were the ones who provoked first, so the final decision is that Noya's actions were considered self-defense, but excessive. Afterward, the class teacher will give them a verbal warning, and Lau's group, besides writing a reflection, will also be responsible for classroom cleaning for a week. Does anyone have anything to add to the decision? Lau's father remained silent, only muttering to himself about his son's behavior. He truly was a man of his own interests. Unable to gain any advantage outside, he turned against his own son. Such a despicable parenting style truly set the Leon family apart. Leon quietly approached Risvitha and whispered, "Just a verbal warning for breaking someone's arm." Risvitha also lowered her voice. The dragon race's concept and acceptance of children fighting are, well, different from yours. Besides, the child admitted they provoked first, and the principal also said Noya's actions were just excessive defense. Oh, I see. All right then, since both families have no objections to the decision and understand the situation of their own children, the Academy's handling of this incident ends here. Thank you all for coming. If you don't mind, you can have lunch at the Academy cafeteria before leaving. Lau's father grabbed Lau's collar and hastily left the principal's office. The two-toed dragon families also slinked away, not daring to say another word, especially after hearing Leon teach his daughter how to beat them up. Risvitha stood up, holding Noya, preparing to leave with Leon, but Principal Wilson stopped them. "Noya, you go back to class first. I have some questions for your parents." "Oh, okay," Noya nodded. Risvitha bent down to let Noya down, then patted her little head. "Be good and go to class." "Mhem," Noya replied, running off. The couple approached the desk. "What's the matter, Principal Wilson?" Wilson scratched his graying hair, looking hesitant. "It's not a very important question, really. Just, it's quite obvious. Noya, a 1-year and 3-month-old fetal dragon, defeated 3 cocoon-born dragons, each over 20 years old, with her bare hands. That's quite a big news. Miss Risvitha, I know you're from the Silver Dragon race, so I wanted to ask, which noble dragon race does your husband come from? The two of you producing such a powerful dragon is truly a miracle." Meanwhile, in the principal's mind, if only they could have a few more, it would be even better. More the merrier. Upon hearing this, the couple felt a bit flustered. Risvitha quickly grabbed Leon's arm, frowning and smiling. "Ahaha, Principal, you're exaggerating. My husband is just an ordinary dragon, not from any noble dragon race, right?" Leon grinned inwardly, thinking I've killed quite a few noble dragons. "Yes, indeed. I'm just a commoner, Principal," Leon echoed his wife's statement. Principal Wilson continued to praise them. "It's been a long time since St. High's Academy has nurtured such a talented young dragon like Noya. I believe, by the time she graduates, she'll be able to lead the dragon race to defeat even more." "Even more?" Leon raised an eyebrow. "Dragon slayers." Leon. Vol 1ch, 69. The principal wanted to help his obedient daughter fulfill her filial duties. This greatness needed no further words. Before Leon could start berating Wilson, Risvitha pulled him out of the principal's office. The couple made their way to the entrance of the academy, intending to return to the Silver Dragon Temple. But just then, a familiar figure emerged from the side. It was Lal's father. This troublemaker seemed to have been lurking at the school gate for quite some time. He blocked Leon and Risvitha's path. From the looks of it, he wanted to have another chat with the couple about the second half. "Is there something else?" Risvitha's tone rarely betrayed impatience. She genuinely felt it was beneath her to talk to such a person. Despite her dissatisfaction, Risvitha maintained her elegant demeanor, her innate aura of dignity fully on display. This aspect was entirely inherited from Noya. "Of course, I still want to talk to you about the children," he said. "The Academy has already given its decision on this matter. You just said in the office that you respected the Academy, didn't you? So I believe there's no need to discuss this further. Please step aside. We're going home," Risvitha replied calmly. Lal's father shook his neck, bones cracking, adopting a thuggish air. "That was just polite talk in the office. I said that out of respect for the Academy, but now that we're outside the Academy, we'll settle it the way we dragons do." With that, the two toad-like dragon parents also emerged from the side. However, their demeanor was clearly not as arrogant as Lal's father's. They didn't even dare to meet Leon's gaze and walked hesitantly. They were probably brought here by Lal's father to show support. "I warn you, don't mess with the Silver Dragon clan. Move aside," Risvitha repeated. "What if we provoke you? My flame-burn dragon clan has never feared such things. Besides, your man doesn't even dare to show his tail. I wonder which insignificant clan he's from. If it comes to a fight, he wouldn't last 3 rounds. Even then, I'd consider it my loss. When a son loses a fight, the father definitely needs to salvage his son's reputation. This dragon named Leon is probably from some obscure dragon clan, not even daring to show his tail. How could he compare to their noble flame-burn dragon clan? So even if he plastered the words, provoking trouble on his face, what's the harm?" Leon thought to himself. "Lal might not inherit your title, but he's inherited that spirit of not backing down. And this was him asking me for a fight. Everyone heard it, didn't they?" Leon glanced at Risvitha as if seeking approval. Risvitha sighed helplessly and whispered, "Don't kill him." Leon made an okay gesture and then stepped forward. Both sides were tense, locking eyes, sparks flying. Meanwhile, inside the academy, Noya hurried to the door with a box of cookies she made in cooking class. Originally, she planned to bring them home the day after tomorrow when they had a day off. But since she was already here, she might as well bring them along. However, when Noya reached the door, she happened to see Leon preparing to fight Lao's father. It seemed like they were about to throw down. The academic radar went off in Noya's mind. This was study time. Lao's father threw punches from left and right, each powerful, but Leon dodged them effortlessly. Noya remembered the duel between Leon and her mom in the training ground a few days ago. Leon was cautious then, giving his all against her mom. But when it came to the crucial moment, you could still feel that mom and dad were holding back. After all, when a couple sparred, they couldn't really treat each other like enemies. Although Leon ended up losing in the end, it was evident that mom didn't win very easily either. However, when facing Lao's father, Leon seemed to be playing with a child, not taking it seriously at all. How much more does this man still have hidden? Noya couldn't help but wonder. Lao's father swung a few punches, all of them missing, getting frustrated and attacking even more impatiently and without any technique. Just by these few moves, Leon had already gauged the opponent's approximate level. While the Flame Burn Dragon clan had strong members, this mad dog in front of him was only slightly stronger than the toad-like dragon. In the past, on the battlefield, Leon wouldn't even bother to look at dragons of this level. "So boring, idiot," Leon mocked as he effortlessly dodged. "I don't even need to use magic to deal with you." What? Before the words were even out, Leon delivered a vicious roundhouse kick to Lao's father's knee. The knee was a weak point for the Flame Burn Dragon clan, and this was Leon's decades of experience in dragon slaying, something he wouldn't tell just anyone. Lao's father instantly knelt in pain, his knee throbbing unbearably. Leon then took a couple of steps, stepping onto the nearby stone steps, using the momentum to spin and deliver a clean and decisive spinning kick that sent Lao's father crashing to the ground. But that wasn't the end of it. Leon put his hands in his pockets, whistling casually, and walked over, expressionless. He stepped on Lao's father's tail, causing the man to scream in agony. Leon reached into his pocket, clenched his right fist, synchronized his body and horse stance, gathering all his strength into his fist as he delivered a powerful punch aimed at Lao's father's face. And no. Boom. Lao's father was so frightened by this move that he trembled, and at the last moment, he awkwardly hugged his head and curled up. He felt like he had made a mistake. The guy in front of him didn't seem particularly special on the surface, but once he started throwing punches, the aura of killing intent emanating from him was undeniably real. It was like the aura only those who crawled out of a pile of dead dragons could possess. Who the hell is this bastard? However, Leon's punch didn't land on his face. He cautiously withdrew his hand, seeing Leon's fist smashing into the concrete floor right in front of him. The hard ground was actually dented by the force of the blow. Even dragon bones couldn't withstand such a punch. In harsher words, if Leon hadn't held back, Lao might have been an orphan by now. "See, besides my mouth, my fists are pretty tough too," Leon remarked as he stood up, kicking Lao's father's shins. "Get lost and tell your son to stay away from my daughter in the future." With that, he looked at the two toad-like dragons beside him. In the past, Leon wouldn't even spare a glance at such small fry. "You too, want to give it a try too?" The two toad-like dragons shook their heads like drums. "Then take him and get lost." Lao's father stood up shakily, clutching his sore knee. With the support of the two toad-like dragons, he left in embarrassment, but his eyes towards Leon couldn't conceal the venom and resentment within. Leon breathed a sigh of relief and turned around. "All right, let's go, Noya. When did you get here?" As he turned around, he happened to see Noya hiding behind the school gate. From her expression and the wagging of her tail, it seemed she had witnessed the whole process, and she appeared quite excited. Rosvitha hadn't noticed her daughter behind her until Leon mentioned it and turned to look. "Noya, why aren't you back in class?" Noya approached, holding the box of cookies. "I wanted to give these to you." With that, she handed over the cookie box. Rosvitha took it with both hands, delighted. "Did you make these yourself?" "Yeah, we learned how to make them in cooking class." Pausing for a moment, Noya added, "They might not taste very good, so don't mind." Rosvitha didn't say anything like, "They're delicious, daughter's cooking is the best." But instead, she took out a cookie from the box, broke it in half, handed one half to Leon, and tasted the other half herself. "These are quite tasty," Rosvitha said. Leon also ate his half and genuinely praised. "Yeah, really delicious." Noya's nervous expression finally relaxed. "I got second place in cooking class." Rosvitha reached out and ruffled Noya's hair. "Cooking is just child's play for you. Next time we'll definitely get first place." "Yeah, okay." Noya nodded, then turned her gaze to Leon. She bit her lip as if hesitant to speak. After some thought, she finally mustered the courage to say, "You were very handsome just now." At that moment, Leon seemed to grasp the significance of being a father. In the pure act of loving his daughter without expecting anything in return, a simple compliment from her outweighed 1,000 words. Especially coming from someone like Noya, who usually didn't express her preferences so bluntly. Being able to praise Leon so directly was more joyful than receiving any gift for him. He didn't think it had anything to do with PUA or personality manipulation nonsense. It was just a normal psychological reaction when a father received praise from his daughter. If Leon had a tail, he'd be wagging it vigorously right now. Compared to "my daughter has finally grown up and learned to compliment people," Leon's thoughts leaned more towards, "there's finally a clear sign of breaking the ice between my daughter and me." He didn't care if Noya had become more mature. He had never been so demanding of her. He just wanted to enter Noya's heart and truly live up to the father-daughter relationship between them. Seeing Leon stunned by his daughter's brief, very handsome compliment, Rosvitha quickly nudged his arm. Leon snapped out of it, scratched his head, and chuckled. "Ahaha, well, of course. Your old man here is quite impressive, and I didn't lie to you, right? The knee really is a weak point for the Flame-Burn Dragon clan. Next time if Lal bullies you again, just kick his knee hard." Noya chuckled but quickly suppressed her smile, just like her mother, as if laughing once required an extra fee. "Okay, I got it. Then wait, your hand, is it injured?" When Leon raised his hand to scratch his head earlier, he inadvertently revealed the knuckles on the back of his hand. It was the wound he got from punching the ground just now. Upon hearing her question, Leon quickly put his hand behind his back. "It's nothing, just a scratch from the fight. Bumps and bruises are normal in a brawl." "But still, isn't the next class about to start? Go back to class. We'll make something delicious for you when we go home the day after tomorrow," Leon said. Noya's pupils trembled slightly and she pursed her lips. Okay, goodbye. See you the day after tomorrow." Noya waved and hurried back to the academy. Rosvitha handed the cookie box to Leon and then transformed into her dragon form. "Let's go back too." "Yeah." Later that evening, Leon sat in the nursery, reading educational dragon books, preparing to teach Muin tomorrow. After a moment, the door clicked. He set down the book and glanced towards the door. Before he could see who it was, he heard the familiar sound of high heels. Leon didn't greet her, quietly picked up the book again, and continued reading. Rosvitha sat down beside him, waiting silently without saying a word. After a few minutes, Leon put down the book. "What is it?" "Your hand." "Huh." Leon was confused, but Rosvitha didn't explain. Instead, she lifted Leon's right hand and placed it on her own lap. Then she took out the wound medicine she had brought, dipped a cotton swab into it, and carefully applied it to Leon's wound, bit by bit. As the medicine entered the wound, It stung a bit, and Leon instinctively flinched his hand. "Does it hurt a lot?" Risvitha asked. Leon stubbornly replied, "And no, it doesn't hurt." Risvitha chuckled and continued applying the medicine, but her movements became much gentler. Well, it doesn't hurt me anyway." The evening breeze flowed in through the window, refreshing and pleasant. Risvitha applied the medicine very carefully and slowly. The medicine was cool, but the palm of the beauty's hand was warm and soft. As a seasoned dragon slayer, Leon had countless wounds on his hands from battles. In the past, he would just deal with them casually. But no one had ever applied medicine to his wounds with such meticulous care, especially not like Risvitha. People always remember their first experiences vividly, and every detail is felt profoundly. Risvitha's palm was soft and warm, but her fingertips were slightly cool. As they brushed against Leon's hand, the sensation was delicate and ticklish. Leon awkwardly cleared his throat and then turned his head, trying to divert his attention from this simple physical contact. Although it was a bit painful, he didn't dare to move around recklessly, especially with his hand on someone else's lap. It could easily be misunderstood as inappropriate behavior. "It's actually not necessary to apply the medicine. It'll be fine in a couple of days," Leon said. "It's Muin who wanted to apply the medicine for you," Risvitha said quietly, lowering her head. "Oh. I was afraid she wouldn't do it properly, so I came by myself." "Oh. Why are you saying oh? I'm telling the truth." Leon shrugged. "Yeah, I know it's true. I didn't say it wasn't. Why are you so nervous?" "I'm not nervous." "Well, if you're not nervous, then I am. Okay. Oh, damn, ouch." Leon winced in pain. Risvitha gave him a disapproving look. "Be honest." She continued applying the medicine. After a while, she spoke again. "Today, thank you." "Thank me for what?" "When we were in the office, Lal's father was being aggressive, and you stood up to defend me and Noya." Risvitha finished applying the medicine, then tossed the cotton swab into the trash. "I thought you'd be happy to see me being put in my place." Leon shook his hand, still feeling the warmth from Risvitha's leg. "Well, of course, I'd be happy to see you at a loss for words. I'd be ecstatic. But still, if my wife were being insulted to her face, could I just sit there and do nothing? That would make me a coward, wouldn't it? And well, it's not all about defending you. I did it mainly for Noya." "Yeah, for Noya." "Sure, keep pretending to be tough in front of each other." Risvitha let out a soft snort and reached up to adjust the strands of hair near her ear. Leon just noticed that she had kept the small braid he had woven for her near her temple while she was unconscious. Seeing this, Leon felt secretly pleased. See? His sense of aesthetics was definitely ahead of the game. "My sister just sent a letter," Risvitha said. "Is she coming to visit again?" Leon asked. Risvitha shook her head. "She's inviting us to bring the 2 daughters to her place as guests. Are you going?" "I'm not going," Leon shook his head. "All right then, if you're not going, let's settle some past issues," Risvitha replied. "I'll go," someone quickly changed their mind. "Very well, then we'll set off when Noya is on break the day after tomorrow." Vol 1ch, 70. A sonic boom exploded in the clouds as a silver dragon soared through the sky. Leon sat cross-legged on Risvitha's back, cradling Muin, who had started to doze off due to waking up too early. "What kind of person is your sister?" Leon asked. "Warm, lively, talkative, cheerful," Risvitha replied. Leon pondered for a moment. "So basically, the complete opposite of you." Risvitha wanted to refute, but realized that she had indeed left Leon with an impression completely opposite to that of her sister, Isabella. After some thought, Risvitha added, "But she's more cunning than me." Leon was surprised. "There's actually a dragoness in this world more cunning than you." "I spent the first 50 years of my life with her, so I know her the best," Risvitha said. "So, you need to be highly vigilant around her. She'll use all sorts of methods to mess with you." Leon chuckled, nonchalantly replying, "Besides you, I don't want to have any contact with any adult dragoness again." As soon as the words fell, Risvitha's dragon wings trembled slightly, causing her body to jolt. Then she heard Leon muttering, "I've had enough for this lifetime." Risvitha wasn't sure if he did it on purpose, but it's always safe to be a little stubborn first. "Don't talk nonsense." Leon innocently, "But I'm speaking from the heart." Damn cunning dragonesses. Now they don't even allow speaking from the heart. Leon glanced at his eldest daughter. "Noah, have you seen Aunt Isabella before?" Noah shook her head. "I've only seen Aunt Isabella in photos in Mom's room. The last time Aunt Isabella visited, I was doing physical training." "So, you're the only one in the family who has seen your sister?" Leon asked. "It seems so. That's why my sister is looking forward to this meeting," Risvitha said. "All right, hold on tight, we're about to accelerate." Another sonic boom rang out, and the silver figure disappeared into the sky. About 3 hours later, Leon's family arrived at the territory of the Red Dragon clan. Looking down from high above, the Red Dragon Temple and the scale of the community were similar to Risvitha's Silver Dragon clan, and the architectural style was very similar. However, many of the silver decorations representing the Silver Dragon clan were replaced with red here. In the nearly identical design style, a few more features of the native clan were added, which was quite interesting. Risvitha slowly landed in the front courtyard of the Red Dragon Temple. Her sister Isabella and several dragon maids had been waiting for a long time. After landing, Leon, holding Muin, slid down from Risvitha's dragon wing, followed closely by Noah. Before they could turn around, they heard Isabella's voice. "Little, Lo, your dragon form is still so handsome, Tilda." Turning around, they saw the Red Dragon Queen, who had just been elegant and dignified, hugging Risvitha's dragon head tightly. Risvitha drooped her wings and her tail hung down helplessly. "Sister, let me change back first." "Oh, all right, you can change," Isabella said. Risvitha folded her dragon wings, and with a flash of light, she transformed back into her human form. "Little Lo." After transforming back, Risvitha still couldn't escape Isabella's enthusiastic hug, which was as warm as a husky's. From Risvitha's reaction and expression, it seemed that she was already accustomed to her sister's way of greeting. However, what slightly surprised Leon was that Risvitha was already a tall woman, standing at around 1.7 meters tall, and wearing high heels could reach up to 1.75 meters. But in her sister Isabella's embrace, she seemed to be a bit shorter. Leon glanced down at Muin, who was about the same height as his calf, hoping that the tall gene from the Melkvi family could be perfectly passed down to their daughter. "Sis, let me introduce you to my husband and daughter. You haven't formally met them yet," Risvitha said. Sure. Isabella put aside her playful demeanor, tidied her hair, and followed Risvitha to Leon and the others. "This is my husband, Leon Casmode," Risvitha said. Leon was about to greet Isabella politely, but she took the initiative to shake his hand. "Hello, brother-in-law. Nice to finally meet you awake." Isabella glanced him up and down. "Indeed, looking at you now, you're more compatible with little Lo." Leon awkwardly smiled and shook hands with Isabella. "Ahaha, Auntie, you're really funny." "What's with the auntie? That's too formal. Tilda, just call me sister like little Lo does." "Okay, sister." "Little Lo, is your husband still not awake?" Risvitha lightly nudged Leon's arm with her elbow. Leon immediately changed his words. "I was just joking with you, sis." "Interesting, little Lo. I really appreciate your husband's personality, just as unpredictable as me," Isabella remarked. Risvitha silently covered her face. "Sis, do you even know that you're unpredictable?" After introducing Leon, Risvitha proceeded to introduce their 2 little dragon daughters. "This is our daughter, Noya and Muin. Sister is—" "Wait, let me guess." Isabella interrupted Risvitha's introduction, excitedly starting a guessing game about the sisters' identities. Her gaze shifted between the 2 little ones, and she pointed at Muin. "This one with the cute little tufts is the older sister. I'm the younger sister, Auntie. Muin shook the tufts on her head. Oh, I guessed wrong. Come here, Muin let Auntie hug. Muin was a natural social phobe, immediately letting go of Leon's hand and embracing Auntie's warm and fragrant embrace. Auntie, how did you know Muin's name? Muin asked. When you were little, I came to visit you, and your mom told me. The younger sister is called Muin, and the older sister is called Noya, Isabella explained. Then she turned her gaze towards Noya. Compared to her sister, Noya was a true social phobe. She nervously held onto Risvitha's skirt, hesitantly stepping back. Risvitha didn't force Noya to greet Isabella directly. She never pressured her daughter to address various relatives. She fully respected Noya's wishes. After some hesitation, Noya tried to peek out from behind Risvitha and approached, saying, Hello, Auntie, I'm Noya. Oh, little Noya, would you like Auntie to hug you too? Previously, Risvitha mentioned in her letter that Noya was a shy girl who wasn't very talkative and didn't like physical contact with others. So when Isabella didn't directly pick her up earlier, she was just asking for her opinion. Noya nodded. Yes. Isabella held Muin with both hands and gently wrapped her flexible tail around Noya's waist, then handed her over to her embrace. Leon internally jokes, convenient, huh? With one dragon daughter on each side, Isabella was overwhelmed with happiness as she held them close. Wow, Tilda, it's so blissful. Little Lo, do you get to enjoy these cute little dragon daughters every day? Oh, I'm usually busy, so it's mostly Leon who takes care of them. Oh, okay, thanks, brother-in-law. No problem, it's not hard. I enjoy taking care of the kids. Taking advantage of the situation, Leon added, The kids are more attached to me, actually. Risvitha raised an eyebrow at Leon. Clearly, they're more attached to me, right? Darling, you're such a joker. Do I look like I'm joking with you? Okay, you're right, they're more attached to you. Do I need your permission? Isabella interjected. Wow, you two have such a great relationship. To Isabella's praise, the couple immediately stopped their banter and replied in unison. It's just okay. Seeing this, Isabella chuckled and said nothing. All right, you must be tired after traveling such a long way. Come in and take a rest. Dinner is ready soon, Isabella said, carrying 2 baby dragonettes and leading Leon and Risvitha into the temple. The whole family arrived at the reception hall of the temple. Leon and Risvitha sat side by side. Muin and Noya were still being cuddled by their aunt for the time being, and they probably wouldn't be let go until dinner was served. What does Muin usually like to eat? Isabella asked. Fried steak. Muin likes fried steak. All right, luckily Auntie has prepared fried steak for dinner. And what about little Noya? I'm fine with anything, Auntie. Noya is so well-behaved. By the way, Auntie heard that you started attending St. High's Academy half a month ago. Noya nodded. Wow, that's amazing. Just over a year old and already going to school. How are your grades? Noya modestly replied, They're okay. Muin stopped her from being modest. Sister is first in many subjects. Isabella's eyes lit up. That's fantastic, my little Noya, just like your mother when she was young. The key word, your mother when she was young, was triggered. As everyone knows, whenever childhood is mentioned, it's time for a history lesson of embarrassment. Even though Noya usually had a cool demeanor, at this moment, she perked up her ears, afraid of missing a single word her aunt would say next. So the main question now is, who will continue the topic of your mother when she was young? The 2 little ones, as if by agreement, turned to look at their father. Leon raised an eyebrow. All right. What else can Dad do? Of course, I'm here to spoil you guys, not because I'm curious myself. Digging deep into the dark history of this mother dragon, I'm more than willing to oblige. So sis, how good was she? Leon asked. How good? Little Lo used to get first place so often it became routine. I remember when she moved up to the adult department, she even went on stage as a representative of outstanding students to give a speech. Oh, I still have the photos taken of her back then. Let me go get them for you guys. Sis, you don't. Risvitha tried to stop her. but Isabella had already put down the two baby dragonettes and trotted out of the reception hall. Suddenly, Risvitha had a bad feeling about this. Our sister is indeed quite enthusiastic, Leon chuckled mischievously. Risvitha glanced at him. Don't get too smug. Once she's done with me, you're next. Leon shrugged. I don't have any embarrassing history in her hands. What's there to be afraid of? Don't overestimate yourself, and don't underestimate my sister. As they bantered, Isabella returned. In her arms, she still held a thick photo album, and her face was beaming with a smile. It was evident that this was not a spontaneous decision. She clearly came prepared, dear sister. A crack appeared on Risvitha's frosty face. Sis, didn't you say you were only going to bring the photo of me as the student representative? Why did you bring them all? Isabella hurriedly sat back in her seat and eagerly opened the photo album. I thought it would be too troublesome to take them out one by one, so I just bought them all. Let me see, let me find it. Rose's student speech photo. Ah, here it is. With that, Isabella handed the album to Leon. The two baby dragonettes also leaned over to join in the excitement. On the open page of the album, indeed, was a younger-looking Risvitha. Back then, her face didn't look as sour as it does now, of course. That was Leon's first impression. But for the two little dragonettes, their mom during her teenage years was so pretty. She was wearing the uniform of St. High's Academy, her silver hair tied neatly into a ponytail, radiating a sunny and cheerful aura that was completely different from the current Ice Queen. Wife, you were so lively when you were studying. Risvitha turned her head away, not wanting to engage with this guy. A dog's mouth can't utter ivory. However, apart from being younger and more youthful, Leon also noticed an interesting detail. That was the dragon horn above Risvitha's ears. She had previously mentioned not seeing her own parents, which meant she was also a viviparous dragon, only revealing her horns when she reached adulthood. Risvitha's dragon horn was cute and petite, making people want to touch it involuntarily. Leon swallowed nervously, glancing sideways at the mother dragon beside him, staring at her ears, his intentions a bit too obvious. Risvitha gave him a disdainful look. Don't bring up any weird requests, thanks. Leon clicked his tongue and withdrew his gaze, but he didn't continue flipping through the other photos. This is basic courtesy. Without the permission of the owner of the album, you can only look at the photo they handed you. However, Isabella noticed that the father and daughter's trio hadn't seen enough, so she said, You can flip through a few more pages. Little Lo was really, really cute when she was little. All right, permission granted, let's flip. There's nothing more satisfying than seeing photos of your archenemy when they were little. If there is, it's that you haven't seen enough. Leon and the two little ones eagerly flipped through the album to the very beginning, officially starting to browse, completely ignoring a certain silver dragon. Sure enough, on the first page of the album, a silver-haired young dragon was showing off her lollipop to the camera. Mommy was so tiny, Muin exclaimed excitedly, just like Muin. To be fair, young Risvitha did look like a silver-haired version of Noya and Muin. Although there was some adorable baby fat on her cheeks, it didn't detract from the delicate features she exuded. Leon flipped to the next page. On this page, Risvitha had grown a lot, probably around 10 years old, already showing signs of a teenage girl. In the photo, she was practicing dragon fire. Another photo on the same page showed her with a burnt hand after failing to control the dragon fire, and Isabella was bandaging her wound. Wife, you and your sisters have such a good relationship, Leon praised superficially but teasingly. Risvitha sneakily reached behind and quietly pinched Leon's waist. Leon, with a thick skin, patted Risvitha's leg, indicating her to calm down. Come on, let's keep looking. Flipping further back, there were various life photos and records taken over time. There was the first attempt at flying, with closed eyes due to fear of heights. There was also the triumphant moment of killing a dangerous species for the first time, proudly standing on its head. However, the next photo was a hilarious snapshot titled, This Mother Dragon Who Killed an S-Class Dangerous Species but got scared by a spider and used advanced magic for its brutal eradication. There were many more photos of Risvitha crying, and Leon couldn't help but chuckle as he looked at them, even though he didn't realize he was laughing. How strange. He came with the mindset of digging into the mother dragon's embarrassing history, but why did he suddenly feel a sense of my wife is so cute? Whatever, as long as he enjoyed it. The last photo in the album was taken on the day Risvitha inherited the title of Silver Dragon Queen. Sitting on the throne, wearing a silver crown, the queen accepted the worship of her silver dragon subjects, exuding dignity and majesty. Leon closed the album, feeling a bit reluctant to stop, just like the two little ones. But Risvitha, on the other hand, breathed a sigh of relief. Finally, it's over. However, it was clear that after not seeing each other for a long time, she underestimated her sister's level of cunningness. How could she miss the chance to express some sisterly love fiercely, now that they were reunited as a family for the first time in a long time? These were just appetizers. After the album session, Isabella pulled out a crystal ball from behind the sofa. Auntie, what's this? Muin asked excitedly. Leon raised his hand. I know, this is called a memory stone. Wow, he really knew it. Yes, it's called a memory stone. Finally, we have the chance to watch it together as a family. Little Lo, you must miss it too, right? The 3 dragons and 1 human all looked at Risvitha. This was the day since she became the Silver Dragon Queen that she wanted to find a hole to hide in the most. Her icy demeanor was finally breaking. Risvitha even said with a hint of pleading, Sis, please, for the sake of me being your real little sister, don't show what's inside. Sis, I also beg you, for the sake of me being your real brother-in-law, you must show us what's inside. Leon couldn't contain his curiosity about the images inside the memory stone. Isabella admired her sister and brother-in-law's reactions. She was satisfied, very satisfied. All right, since Leon is visiting our house for the first time, let's go with his suggestion this time, and we'll follow Rose's idea next time. Risvitha's inner thoughts, there won't be a next time. With that, Isabella activated the memory stone, and a clear image appeared in the center of the reception hall. Everyone looked up, and the first scene was a silver-haired young dragon sitting on the ground, crying. A grown-up Isabella was squatting beside her, comforting her and saying, Don't cry, little Lo, don't cry. So what if the lunch was taken away by the messenger dragon? Sister will make another one for you later, don't cry, okay? Later, that messenger dragon went hungry for 3 days and finally learned its lesson, no longer stealing her food. Isabella explained beside them. Leon leaned close to Risvitha's ear and whispered, Then how come you don't have any psychological trauma from messenger dragons now? SHH, shut up, Risvitha nudged his shoulder. Leon chuckled, dodging away, and continued watching the images in the memory stone. The next scene was by the bathroom door, with the camera slightly shaking, giving off a family video vibe. In the next moment, Isabella appeared in the frame, waving and then making a silence gesture before sticking the memory stone on the bathroom door. Soon, familiar sounds could be heard from the bathroom. I love bathing. Makes my body feel good, oh, tilde, scrubbing my tail and blowing bubbles. Tilde, oh, tilde. Leon's smile widened. Wife, your singing voice is as melodious as a nightingale. Just end it all, Risvitha exclaimed in despair, burying her head in her arms on the table, hands covering her ears. Click. The sound of her heart's defense breaking, so pleasant. Here comes the final part, which I personally think is the most exciting, Isabella announced. Upon hearing this, Risvitha quickly lifted her head and grabbed Isabella's wrist. Sis, this part is really not okay, absolutely cannot be shown. Isabella narrowed her eyes and smiled. Little Lo, you know me. The more you resist, the more I want to show it. Sis, you're my only sister, I support you, Leon said nonchalantly, looking like he was just enjoying the show. Risvitha turned to glare at him fiercely. The look in her eyes clearly said, Wait until we get home and you'll see how I deal with you. But Leon remained indifferent. Carpe diem, seize the day, live in the moment. I don't know how I'll die in the future, but you're probably going to die now. Isabella activated the memory stone, playing the final scene, and reminded them, some things you need to see so you won't forget. In the scene, she and Risvitha were sitting side by the river, having their first conversation about relationships. Rose, what are your criteria for choosing a partner in the future? At the age of 17 or 18, Risvitha didn't quite understand the concept of love or relationships, but she had very clear standards. She looked at the river, earnestly replying, they should at least be academically superior to me, with many first places or championships. They must be responsible and not dislike children. And they should be powerful but not bully the weak, have their own principles of conduct, and not be influenced by the masses or external factors. Isabella's eyes flickered. Those 3 points are quite challenging, especially the last one. Many people lose themselves after gaining power and authority. Young Risvitha looked up at the Milky Way in the night sky, her tone firm with a hint of longing and determination. Who knows? Anyway, if I were to marry, I would only marry such a person. If I never meet someone like that in my lifetime, then I'll never marry. The Silver Dragon Queen, preferring to remain single than to settle for less. The scene ended. Leon and the 2 little dragon girls were still a bit stunned. After a moment, Noya and Muin looked at their own father simultaneously. Noya said, academically superior, not bullying the weak. Muin, not disliking children. Leon, dang. Vol 1ch, 71. Isabella glanced at the reactions of the 2 youngsters, her gaze involuntarily falling on Leon. Leon, who had just been gleefully mocking, now seemed somewhat shy, unlike his previous self. As for Risvitha, who would have thought that what she said over 100 years ago would come true in such a strange way today? She really married someone who excelled academically, was responsible, liked children, and didn't bully the weak. Regarding this coincidence, the couple tacitly chose to remain silent. Isabella looked left and right. Since both husband and wife were feeling a bit embarrassed because of her, her purpose had been achieved. Putting away the souvenir stone, Isabella asked, so who pursued whom first? Leon was quick to respond, she pursued me. Have some shame. Say it again, who pursued whom? Leon was about to continue arguing shamelessly when he noticed the look in Risvitha's eyes, which clearly said, if you dare, say it again. Leon swallowed hard and reluctantly said, it was her who pursued me first. I was clueless, ignored her, then regretted it and ended up pursuing her. Risvitha snorted coldly, implying, that's about right. It was rare for their banter to end with one side conceding. Perhaps the shock of the earlier mate selection criteria was too overwhelming, leaving them feeling a bit deer in headlights. Seeing the young couple exchanging meaningful glances, Isabella knew it was time to temporarily end this topic. Coincidentally, the maid came to inform them that dinner was ready, so they all headed to the dining room. After seating themselves, Isabella asked with a playful smile, Muin, Auntie has prepared pan-fried steak for would you like Auntie to feed you? I want. Muin ran over to Isabella and extended his little arms, begging to be held. Isabella, who was quite fond of children, lifted Muin onto her lap, holding her small hand as they together cut into the steak on the plate. Leon, Risvitha, and Noya also began to enjoy their dinner. Through this brief interaction, Leon realized that Queen Isabella of the Red Dragons was actually quite easy to get along with. Despite being Risvitha's sister, she didn't appear uptight at all. As Risvitha had described, she was lively, talkative, and a bit mischievous. Moreover, she had a special affinity for children. Even Noya, who usually dislikes being touched by people, had obediently let her hold her for a while just now. This showed Isabella's charisma. She and Risvitha were completely different from the Dragon Kings they had interacted with before. They were friendlier, more peaceful, and placed more emphasis on family. Certainly, the lifestyle and educational beliefs of the dragon clan differed greatly from humans, but in terms of emotions, they also harbored the purest of intentions. They loved their family and themselves. By the way, little Lo, I heard you had a bit of a clash with a duke from the Flame Dragon clan a few days ago, Isabella casually asked as she passed a small piece of beef to Muin's mouth. Yeah, his son, along with two toad dragons, bullied Noya, and Noya gave them a good beating, Risvitha replied. Isabella looked up. Toad dragons. Risvitha paused, glanced at Leon, and explained. Oh, she means dwarf dragons. Ah, I see. I heard that Guy went back and complained to Constantine afterward, saying he wanted to teach you a lesson, Isabella remarked. Would Constantine bother with him? Risvitha chuckled lightly. Isabella chuckled. Who knows, but that old dragon king has indeed been quite active lately, itching for a fight everywhere. Remember when I mentioned to you last time about his plans to expand territory? Yeah, I remember, Risvitha replied casually. Her expression remained indifferent as she added, if he really dares to lay a hand on my Silver Dragon sanctuary for the sake of a worthless duke, I wouldn't mind trimming down their Flame Dragon clan a bit. Oh, Tilda, come on, Tilda, don't be so aggressive. Let's just chat casually and focus on eating, Isabella intervened. Leon silently listened to the conversation between the two sisters. He remembered reading about Constantine's deeds when he was explaining Dragon Clan history to Muin before. It described Constantine as a heroic figure who expanded the Dragon Clan's territory. He must be one of the older dragon kings with formidable strength. Despite Isabella's reminder, Risvitha showed no signs of worry. She wasn't the type to overestimate herself or boast. If she didn't have full confidence, she wouldn't have uttered the audacious phrase, trim down their Flame Dragon clan. Leon brought his thoughts back and resumed eating. As the dinner came to an end, the maids came to clear the table. Isabella carefully wiped the food residue from Muin's mouth, while Noya obediently sat beside her. Leon had a faint smile on his lips, seeming to savor the moment of social death just now. Risvitha was already regretting bringing him here. If it didn't work out, could she just leave him halfway on the way back tomorrow? Would that be okay? It should be, right? So, where were we? Oh, Tilda, it was you pursuing little Lo, right? Isabella initiated the post-dinner conversation. Leon's gaze wandered, feeling a bit guilty. Ah, yes, I was the one pursuing her. You're quite something, then. There have been many who pursued little Lo before, and at the peak, the line could stretch from the front yard of the Silver Dragon sanctuary to the back mountain, Isabella remarked. It wasn't that exaggerated, sis. He, just reminding your husband to cherish you more, Isabella teased. Hey, Leon, did you know, little Lo's suitors were each more eccentric than the last, as were the gifts they gave. Leon's eyes lit up immediately, piquing his interest. Was it time for another round of embarrassing stories? I love it, bring it on. And Risvitha was powerless to stop it. Whatever, let it be destroyed. A person's true death occurs twice. First, the death of the body, and second, the death of being forgotten by others. But a certain Silver Dragon Queen pioneered a third type. Ultimate social death. I remember one gift was a toy bear that would wake you up at exactly 6 every morning. The noise was unbearable. Little Lo tossed it aside as soon as she got it, Isabella recounted. A toy bear. Yeah, don't know if it was the toy bear she didn't like, or just the sound. Just someone who thought giving a toy bear was a good idea, Risvitha remarked, sipping her post-dinner tea. Leon pondered. So she actually likes toy bears then? Risvitha gave him a sidelong glance, knowing what he was hinting at. To prevent him from continuing with his teasing, Risvitha played along with his insinuation and replied, yes, I love toy bears. I absolutely adore them. Perhaps it wasn't about the toy bear at all. It was about the person who gave the toy bear. Well, it's just a way to get this guy to stop fixating on this matter, Risvitha thought to herself. Speaking of suitors, little Lo, I have a surprise for you here, Isabella announced. Risvitha's hand, holding the tea, froze. It's not over yet. Oh, my dear sister, how many more hidden treasures do you have in your arsenal? How long have you been preparing for this day? Sis, no need for further ado, bring out the surprise already. Leon rubbed his hands eagerly. If he had known his big sister had such exciting hidden gems, he wouldn't have refused her earlier, would he? In this family, his big sister was his confidant. In terms of orchestrating Risvitha's social demise, he and Isabella had an innate understanding. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. Isabella dashed off and returned with a large cardboard box in her hands. What's this? Risvitha suddenly had a very bad feeling. These are all the love letters you didn't even bother to look at before tossing them away, Isabella exclaimed. Mom, are you okay? I'm fine. Mom's still holding on. Isabella proceeded to flip through the love letters one by one, as if they were precious treasures. This one from a prince of the Azure Dragon clan, but sadly, he never even made it through the gates of your Silver Dragon sanctuary. This one from a lord of the Frost Dragon clan, but he had it worse. You didn't even bother to learn his name. Ah, these letters, none of them were opened, all thrown away by you. Thankfully, your sister is frugal and thrifty, so I saved them for you. Risvitha covered her face. Sis, how does this have anything to do with being thrifty and frugal? Being thrifty, you can use unwanted love letters to prop up table corners. Being frugal, when you're feeling down, you can take them out and read them, and then you'll feel happy again, Isabella replied. Risvitha silently gave her a thumbs up. You win. Then. Let's randomly select a lucky one to read the love letter he sent to little Lo, Isabella suggested. Sis, please let me do this, Leon volunteered eagerly. No problem, come on, pick any, there's a whole box full, Isabella replied. Leon couldn't wait and rummaged through the box, finally pulling out a pink envelope. He held the envelope close to his nose, took a dramatic deep breath, and said, Darling, I'm about to start reading Tilda. Take this opportunity to learn, so I can write to you every day in the future. Leon leisurely opened the envelope and began to read with exaggerated emotion. My dear Miss Melkvi, the moment I laid eyes on you, I fell irresistibly in love with you. Oh, Melkvi, you shine as brightly as the Milky Way in the sky, like an elf of the night, silently stealing my heart. Tilda, oh Tilda, Tilda Melkvi, my beloved, my Risvitha grabbed a piece of bread from the table and stuffed it into Leon's mouth. You win, Leon. In disgusting me, you've succeeded, and quite perfectly. The tone of the mother dragon's voice was somewhat displeased. Now she resembled a red-hot pufferfish, pouting and with a flushed face. Leon swallowed the bread and tossed the love letter aside, then pulled Risvitha into a hug. Risvitha thought he was going to continue grossing her out, but what Leon said next caught her off guard. All right, suitors, love letters, it's all in the past. In the end, you married me and we have these adorable and sensible daughters, he said, looking at Risvitha with affection, though mostly out of survival instinct. If he didn't appease this mother dragon soon, Leon had no doubt about what she might do tonight. Risvitha's cheeks flushed slightly as she quickly turned her head away. Your sister and the kids are here. Don't say such things, you idiot. Daddy's being, Mewen chimed in. Isabella smiled, her lips curved upwards. You two have a good dynamic. She could see that, although her sister and brother-in-law were always bantering, refusing to yield to each other, this kind of relationship was the most relaxed. Little Lo would never allow anyone to joke about her, but this man named Leon managed to do so. In the future, they would surely continue to be happy, Isabella was sure of it. She stood up and clapped her hands. All right, dinner's over. Let me take you to your rooms. Tomorrow we'll go visit the Red Dragon tribe. Yay, Tilda. Isabella held Noya and Mewen's hands, one on each side, while Leon and Risvitha followed behind. Upon reaching the third floor of the sanctuary, Isabella first arranged her sisters in one room. Inside, there were rocking horses, slides, and a sea of colorful balls, everything a child could dream of. It seemed their Aunt Isabella had turned a miniature dragon playground into a bedroom. The two little ones ran excitedly into the room. Isabella chuckled and then led the couple to the innermost room, opening the door. "Here, you'll be staying in this room for the next few days." This room was much simpler. Looking around, there was only a large bed and a huge transparent bathroom. What was more, rose petals were scattered all over the bed and in the bathtub in the bathroom. "Only one bed," Leon and Rosvitha exclaimed simultaneously. "Hee, I've been preparing for this day for 2 years. You two rest well now," Isabella said with a squinted smile, looking like a cunning old fox who had succeeded in her plan.